We still don't have the full compliance of the law.
Maximum warfare everywhere, all the time.
We cannot take responsibility for the minds that are out there and how they hear it.
Remember that it's been Donald Trump and the Republicans that have called for political violence.
America, you've already heard the Democrat rhetoric caused this debate. I understand that conversation has been going on for about 1 week now, and you're probably absolutely tired of it. Good, because this video is not that conversation. This video is about one specific question that nobody is asking loudly enough. After April 25th, 2026, after a man ran through security checkpoints at a White House Correspondents' Dinner with a shotgun and a manifesto, did Democrats change what they were willing to say out loud? On April 27th, just a few days after the situation, Alexandria Acosta walked out of the Capitol building and stood in front of reporters. And she didn't just stand there with the same old rhetoric. She named 4 brand new accusations, and she gave all 4 of them a brand new name. She called them an obligation. Not a choice, not a preference, a requirement. Democrats are required to keep saying these things. These are her words. The shooting didn't quiet anything down. AOC left that Capitol building with a longer list than she arrived with.
Today, the Department of Justice filed 3 federal charges in United States District Court against Cole Thomas Allen.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Quick foundation so that everything that comes after this absolutely makes sense. Because the manifesto details are the whole reason AOC's April 27th press conference on the steps matter. Cole Allen, 31 years old. He went to Caltech. It's actually one of the hardest schools in the country to get into. He was a video game developer from Torrance, California. On April 21st, he got on an Amtrak train heading east. He booked his hotel room at the Washington Hilton on April 6th, 3 weeks before the shooting. He knew that Trump was going to be at the Correspondents' Dinner because the president announced it back in March. On the night of April 25th, the president and the first lady were inside the ballroom. Allen was 1 floor above them. He walked up to a security checkpoint and ran through the metal detectors holding a shotgun in his hands. A Secret Service officer was shot in the chest. The bulletproof vest, thank God, stopped the bullet from penetrating him, so it stopped it. That officer drew his weapon and fired back. Allen went down, arrested on the spot. Now, here's what makes this connect to every political conversation that happened since on every network.
Records indicate that in October 2023, he purchased legally a .38 caliber pistol here in Torrance at a gun shop. Then 2 years later, in August 2025, he purchased a 12-gauge shotgun. He stored them here at the family home, but it doesn't appear that his family knew that the weapons were in the home. Somehow he managed to get to Washington.
He emailed his family before he ran through the security checkpoint. He planned it weeks in advance. He called himself a friendly federal assassin. And his manifesto, you guys, pulled from his hotel room, described targeting Trump administration officials and used specific words about the president that I'll get into here in a minute. That's the foundation. Now let's get into what the Democrats said the very next day. I'm going to let her speak for herself here. The full answer, no clip of somebody describing it, not a summary. Her actual words to reporters outside the Capitol. A reporter asked, "The White House says Democrat rhetoric is causing political violence. What do you say?" Guys, I want you to listen very, very carefully to what she does instead of walking anything back.
When you have people committing crimes in office, we have an obligation to say that someone is committing a crime in office. That includes the President of the United States. It includes members of his cabinet. We still don't have, for example, the full compliance of the law with the Epstein files disclosure. Even though Pam Bondi's been dismissed, they're still covering this up. We still have very much unspoken for open questions about possible money laundering with these crypto deals and these kind of, I think there's an open question about whether there's bribery going on or extortion going on with these media companies and these settlements happening. So I think it's important to name things that are happening. Now, there is a level of rhetoric that is too far, right? We would never say someone should commit an act of violence. And I think that line is pretty bright and pretty clear. To my knowledge, I don't know of anyone who has engaged in that.
She told you clearly what she was doing. She gave the violence disclaimer.
We would never say that, she says. We would never say that.
It's on camera. I'm not hiding it. But count what she did before that disclaimer. Obligation to keep calling out crimes. The Eaststein, the Bernstein Bears cover-up, still active. Money laundering with crypto. Possible bribery with media settlements. Possible extortion with media settlements. She put 4 new labels on a pile just days after an attempted assassination, and she called out all 4 of them a requirement. And here's why, you guys, the word obligation matters more than anything else that she said, more than anything that AOC said. An obligation is not something that you choose. You don't get to pause an obligation because circumstances change. You don't get to say, given what just happened, let's hold off for a week. An obligation is a duty to carry out regardless. AOC explicitly removed that option to dial it back.
And they are able to radicalize and target and exploit a generation of young boys, in particular, away from healthy masculinity and into an insecure masculinity that requires the domination of others who are poorer, browner, darker, or a different gender than them. And that is why they are resonating online, because they are appealing to the most basest and worst parts of human nature.
And here's a connection to the manifesto that nobody is really putting on the same screen together. Cole Allen's manifesto called the president, and I'm reading this directly from the government's own criminal complaint, a pedophile, a rapist, and a traitor. Democrats, my friends, have used all 3 of those words in different forms over the years directed at Trump. The PDF label has been connected with Eaststein accusations. The rapist situation comes from the E. Jean Carroll verdict. You guys remember that? The word traitor has been used on the House floor. And a few days after Cole Allen ran through security, AOC added 4 more names to that running list, all while she called it an obligation. I want to go through each one of AOC's accusations specifically, because possibly some of your friends and family are going to ask you about this, and you need to know what she actually said versus what's been established here. She said, accusation 1, the Eaststein files. AOC said even after Pam Bondi left as AG, the documents are still not fully compliant with the disclosure law. This is a real ongoing dispute. Senate Democrats filed a resolution demanding the full documents released in 2026. The administration has been slow as some of those records, whether that's a quote-unquote cover-up, as Democrats would say, or slow bureaucracy, is genuinely contested here. The dispute itself is real. Accusation 2, money laundering with crypto. This refers to Trump's family's crypto ventures, meme coins, DeFi projects launched while he's been in office. Democrats have been raising conflicts of interest concerns, but we could say the same thing about Nancy Pelosi, but we don't hear much about that. Money laundering as a specific label is AOC's framing here. Not court has filed it as a charge. Accusations 3 and 4, bribery and extortion with media companies. We could go down a whole nother rabbit hole and talk about foreign adversaries extorting and using media companies in the United States, but that's for an entirely different video. AOC is referring to legal settlements between major networks and Trump-connected entities. Democrats suggest those settlements involve improper pressure. None of this has been charged in any court filing. You're probably asking yourself, Tyson, why does this breakdown actually matter? Because the words that she's using here, you guys, money laundering, bribery, extortion, are serious criminal terms. They carry specific legal meaning, and she applied them publicly on camera the day after a man was charged with attempted assassination using a manifesto full of equally serious labels. Watch how the White House responded to exactly this pattern here.
This political violence stems from a systemic demonization of him and his supporters by commentators, yes, by elected members of the Democrat Party, and even some in the media. This hateful and constant and violent rhetoric directed at President Trump day after day after day for 11 years has helped to legitimize this violence and bring us to this dark moment. I have a whole host of examples that we can share with you after. It is pages and pages of major Democrat Party elected officials.
11 years, that's not a random number. That's 2015 when Trump entered politics. 11 years of escalating language. And AOC's answer to that at a press briefing was to go outside and add 4 more labels to 11 years of already pre-existing labels. Now, let me show you the leadership context around AOC's statement, because this was not one rogue congresswoman here. This is what the top Democrat in the House decided to say the same week. Hakeem Jeffries, our friend, Hakeem Dollar Store Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, the highest ranking Democrat in the House of Representatives. Here's what he said in April 2026, days before April 25th.
As it relates to anything that has been said, certainly as it relates to the comment related to maximum warfare everywhere, all the time, in connection with the redistricting battle that Republicans launched. I stand by it. You can continue to criticize me for it. I don't give a damn about your criticism.
Let me break that down in the simplest possible way. After a man with the manifesto tried to kill the president of the United States, Hakeem Jeffries says he doesn't give a damn about the criticism of his maximum warfare language. He stood by it. The top House Democrat. And the next day, AOC, the congresswoman who's about to face re-election in one of the most watched races in the country, stood outside the Capitol and called 4 new accusations an obligation. Those are not 2 disconnected statements here, you guys. That is what the Democratic Party leadership decided to do the week of April 25th. And it absolutely matters here because of how close this actually is. Here's the security assessment that tells you exactly what stakes were at on April 25th, because the political debate and the physical reality of that night need to be understood together.
Jesse, they avoided a potential bloodbath. 2008, Taj Mahal, Mumbai, 10 terrorists stormed the Taj Mahal Hotel, slaughtered 175 people. The only thing I can say about Saturday night was, and I first want to recognize the men and women of the Secret Service and all law enforcement. They rose to the occasion. They neutralized the threat. With that being said, they also got very lucky. You know, when Todd Blanche talks about this shooter being 1 floor above, he could have had a suicide vest on with explosives. That type of explosive device could have, in fact, taken down that floor onto the ballroom. And that could have been a reality, and we would have a totally different conversation this evening. Just think, replay that video, have 10 people with assault weapons or explosive vest bum rushing that same area, what the catastrophic occurrence would have been on Saturday night. It would have been a completely different story.
He ran the math. Allen was alone. He wasn't trained. He wasn't coordinated. And a former FBI agent compared the vulnerability of that venue to one of the deadliest hotel attacks in modern history. 1 floor above the president, the entire cabinet inside, the vice president inside. And they got lucky because Allen acted alone. Now, here's a question I want you to sit with for a second. Not a political question, a practical one. When a security expert goes on TV and says, we got lucky because it was 1 person. What does it mean when the response from an elected Democrat the very next day is, we have an obligation? I'm not answering the question for you. I'm just asking it because AOC answered it. She said obligation, 4 new accusations, keep naming, bright, clear line of violence, at least in my opinion, and none of that comes with the pause button from their party. Let me quickly show you what happened when Cole Allen appeared in court, because his appearance is a direct backdrop for everything AOC said the next day.
31-year-old Thomas Allen did not enter a plea to the federal charges, now including attempted assassination of the President of the United States.
The Department of Justice approaches incidents like this with urgency and clarity of purpose. Violence has no place in civic life.
No plea charges that carry up to life in prison. And while this is happening inside the federal courthouse in Washington, D.C., AOC is outside the Capitol expanding the list of accusations and calling it an obligation. And here's the thing, you guys, that surprised me this week. A former federal prosecutor went on Fox News that same week of the shooting, and only one Democrat senator, John Fetterman, had publicly stepped back from the heated rhetoric. One out of 47. The week a man was federally charged with attempted assassination. That number, you guys, 1 out of 47, is its own statement about how obligation framing works here. If it is your duty, you don't get to decide that you feel like pausing. And 46 out of 47 senators on that side agreed.
We also have some sound from Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche from when he was on Face the Nation. Let's take a listen to what he had to say about this.
So there's a lot of federal charges that could be in play beyond those two charges, but it depends on on us understanding his motive, his intent, his premeditation, what led into him deciding that he was going to do what he did last night.
Blanche said the motivation and intent are part of the investigation. This is obvious here. What was going through Cole Allen's mind? What was he reading? What was he searching on the internet? What he believed? What language shaped his view on the president and the administration and the government? You guys is going to have to answer all those questions during the prosecution and the case, while AOC is outside naming 4 new labels and calling it an obligation. America, here's the thing that wasn't said anywhere else this week. AOC's 4 new accusations a couple days after the Epstein cover-up, crypto money laundering, media bribery, media extortion were not things that she had said before the shooting. They aren't necessarily recycled talking points from 2023. She named them specifically a few days after the shooting, after the arrest, after 3 federal charges, which means the shooting produced opposite of what you might expect. It didn't narrow the list. It gave her, AOC, an audience and 4 new labels to introduce. And here's the detail nobody paired together this week. The manifesto that federal prosecutors are using as evidence said, and I'm quoting, this is in the government court filing, that Allen was no longer willing to permit a PDF, a rapist, and a traitor to coat his hands with his crimes. 3 specific words, all 3 traceable to years of specific Democrat rhetoric. And the day after those words became federal evidence, AOC named 4 more of them, like it's her duty. Jeffries stands by maximum warfare. 46 of 47 Democratic senators stayed quiet about the language, and AOC framed all of this as something that she can't turn off. At some point, you guys, the argument that words don't matter stop working when the words just keep showing up in evidence. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.